Hello everyone, welcome back to the Mom's View. I'm Kayli, this is Colette and Carly, and we're happy that you're hanging out with us today. I just went to an event that my cousin Jessie put on. She was here, we were actually sitting on this couch.
So sad I couldn't go to
and
that.
She talked about how she wanted to do an event for women. She dealt with a lot of postpartum depression, and so she put on this event, and I went to it, and it was so great. We talked a lot about depression, and a lot of amazing women shared their experiences. There was a nurse there that actually talked about like what goes on in your brain after you have a baby, and I would love to have her on because I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, she talked about how we have pregnancy brain and how it really is real because all these different things like that our bodies do, and it made so much sense. So I would really like to have her on to explain it.
That would be really awesome.
Yeah, it just made me feel better. But while I was listening, I was looking at this group of women, and I think that women love events like that because as mothers, we can feel really lonely.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember like that day just feeling like my heart was full, and I just felt filled by being in a group of women who were just there to be with each other.
Yeah.
And so that's what I wanted to talk about today, was loneliness as a mom, because I do feel like there are a lot of conversations happening about postpartum depression and what happens after you have a baby, and I love that, and I'm so grateful. But I also wanted to talk about this part of motherhood that lasts even after your baby's a newborn.
Right.
I do think that even when you have a baby, it does feel lonely because you're just with your baby, and it's such a beautiful, amazing time, but it also feels really lonely.
Right.
So I wanted to talk about that just in case anyone else was feeling that, because I know for me personally, I felt a lot of guilt and shame because I felt that way. Because you're surrounded by your family and you're surrounded by your kids, and it's such a great time, but it feels so lonely even though you're surrounded by so many people. And there are even times when I feel like I'm surrounded by my family, and I feel like if everyone would just leave me alone, I wouldn't feel so lonely right now. I just like, it's like this confusing, like pulling and tugging, and there's just so much going on.
Right.
I also had a friend who was talking about a church lesson that they were preparing her and some other ladies, and they wanted to talk about loneliness, and they thought that it would affect the older ladies because their children were gone, and what a lonely time, right? But they were surprised by how many young mothers had to get up and leave, and how many of these young mothers sat and cried.
Really?
Because it is such a lonely time.
Yeah.
Your focus is so just on your family, and you don't take that time for yourself.
Right.
And that was a big reason that I wanted to talk about this today too, because it just felt like I was hearing this from everywhere, and I was feeling it myself. And I was struggling a few months ago, and you had recommended Brene Brown's book, Braving the Wilderness. And I listened to it. I went on a little road trip. I had to go somewhere. And it was like such a great time to listen to it because I was feeling lonely. But she also talks about how you have to stand alone. You don't have to belong, and you don't have to, be a part of any groups to feel like you're
not alone.
Like you're not alone, which seems like so crazy. And she even mentioned a quote that I really loved by Maya Angelou, and it says, "You are only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place, no place at all. The price is high, the reward is great." And she talked about how that was a quote that she was first heard, and she was like, "What?" And then throughout her life, she put it into play. And then
she
it all
began to
made
understand
sense.
it.
Yeah. So I love that too. So some things that I was thinking that you could do if you're feeling lonely was to find a mom group. And that's something that they talked about at the event. And I was like, how do you find a mom group? Yeah. I think in some places they have mom groups that are easier to find.
Right.
But when you're in a smaller community, I think it's almost harder to find a mom group.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people already have grouped off.
So if you are wanting a mom group, start one.
Yeah.
And that might seem really hard or like intimidating, and it might make you feel very vulnerable, but just do it.
Yeah.
And you might meet new friends, have, different moms bring moms that they know that might need a mom group too, and do that. Don't let fear hold you back. and this is kind of what I got from Brene Brown's book, the fear of belonging or not being like the other moms, I think holds us back from being a part of a mom group or just being involved or meeting new people. And then the other thing that I think I do, and this is kind of fear holding me back, is time. Because I think I have this extra time. I should be cleaning. I should get caught up on my laundry. I should declutter my house.
Shoulds.
Yeah.
You should.
Or I should just spend more time with my kids. But I think it's so important that we remember that we need time.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's when we get stuck in that place where we're surrounded by people, but we feel lonely because we're just constantly doing instead of like feeling.
Taking a little something for ourselves.
Yes. And we deserve that.
And even just like you were saying, when like all your kids are around you, you're just like, I just need space. Like sometimes you need that recharge, and not only like a recharge to just feel like you can move on, but like you need to love yourself, like feel that self-love, because I think a lot of times we're seeking for that belonging somewhere because we don't feel confident in who we are, or we don't feel that peace of I'm enough, you know, but when I kind of feel like I remember reading that part in the book and also feeling like, what? That doesn't make sense. And then as I read more of the book, it did make sense. But I think it was like, when you're secure in yourself, you can be alone for a long time even and not feel lonely.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like knowing who you are and loving who you are and being confident in who you are, then it's easier to be in a crowd and feel like you belong because you don't need the crowd to belong.
Right. You belong to you.
Yeah.
And so you can stand alone.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Such good points.
Oh, something else that I think is a great thing to do when you're feeling lonely is to serve others. Because I think if you are nervous about making new friends, that's a great way to kind of break the ice. You know, take treats to a neighbor and then just visit with them. Because I think sometimes when you come into contact with people, even at the store, it just feels so good to have that conversation.
Yeah.
I remember I had Layla and I was walking around the store with her, and normally when I have a newborn, I feel very like protective, like don't even look at my baby, don't touch my baby, don't, you know, I just, it's just this weird thing, like it's anxiety really, that like my baby's gonna get sick. And with Layla, I just tried so hard to kind of let that go. And I had her out and I was holding her, and this older lady stopped and talked to me and was touching Layla's little hand. And to have that conversation with that woman and to know like I'm gonna be there one day felt so good, and I felt so recharged from that conversation. And then that same day I turned the corner and this older man stopped and asked me about the baby, and his wife was a nurse. And it just felt so good to have those conversations. So I think just to be open and to put yourself out there to have those conversations with a stranger or with a neighbor is a great way to feel recharged yourself.
I think sometimes social media, can get in the way of the real, like that real connection that we need. We're so connected and disconnected at the same time that you often feel empty and you don't realize like how far a little conversation with a stranger or just looking someone in the eyes and like exchanging words really goes, rather than like commenting on a picture or receiving a comment. It's like that's like part of
Actual
human nature.
human
You need
interaction.
that belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball interaction.
Yeah.
I agree.
Don't you also think like expectations? I think I personally have a hard time ever venting or complaining or feeling like, oh, this is too much having kids and a husband, and because we obviously would never trade that, and we obviously love our kids, but it's like that moment that you start to feel like overwhelmed or it's catching up to you. You know that there's somebody out there that would die to have kids or die to be married. And so I always am like, you can't feel bad for your situation because that would hurt their feelings.
Right.
But I think that hard times and joy can exist in the same space. Like you can be grateful for what you have as well as owning that it's hard.
Yeah.
And if you're too busy like serving all of your kids and your husband, you're not serving yourself. And so those expectations for yourself aren't being met. And how can you really love your children fully if you're not meeting your own expectations?
Yeah.
Right.
So you have to take that time for yourself because you are a being as well. And you have to fill your love tank back up in order to fill theirs.
Yeah. I even have said that sometimes to my family when I'm like going and I'm like, I just need you guys to help me for a second. I am a person too. Recognize that.
I know, I'm constantly, I am not a maid.
Right.
I am not your
Yes.
maid. Yeah. I think that self-love is so important because oftentimes we do have that mindset of like, we're constantly serving and giving, and that can also foster resentment. And that's really nobody's fault but our own, because we have the control and the power to like set a boundary, and that I think boundaries come when you have love for yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's so important. Like, it can seem selfish, but I feel like you need to flip the perception on that and realize, no, I am important. I'm not being selfish. I'm important, and I need to, not only do I want to serve, but I can serve better when I'm serving myself as well.
From a place of like, not you have to, but you want to, or
You want
it
to.
just, yeah.
And if you find yourself in that place where you're serving and you don't want to, that's a sign, like that's your trigger in your mind to be like, I need to take care of myself.
Yeah.
I need to do something for me.
Time out, hold
Yeah.
the brakes, I'm going to get a pedicure.
I even like one day left and I was like, I just have to go get a soda by myself. And I felt so much better when I got home.
Yeah.
Can I tell him the story?
No.
What? It's so funny. Let me.
Okay.
Let me tell him your deepest,
It
darkest
was just
secret.
it was a crazy day. I had just had it. Like, I felt like I was arguing with every single person in my family. I was exhausted, and I was like, I'm leaving. And I literally went and packed a bag and left. And I think my family was just like, Mom.
I think we were on the same
You needed to do that,
wavelength
though.
because I texted her. I don't know if I was feeling it or if I was feeling. I was like, "Do you want to run away?" And Kayli sent me pictures. Like, I literally just packed my bag. And I was like, "What? Let's go. Where are we going?"
go.
And then she ended up just driving down. It's like a mile from our house to
Not
the
even.
soda shop. Got herself a soda, and then she texted. She's like, "Well, I'm just actually back at my house because I didn't know where to go."
I had no idea where to go. I was like,
It
okay.
made me laugh so
I'll
hard.
just go home now. But I still think my family was like, okay. Like, sorry I had to show my crazy for you guys to listen to me.
Sorry that you guys got me to that point.
Though, that was perfect. That's exactly what you needed to do.
I don't know.
I saw this quote on Pinterest where it's like, I go from being a mom to a gangster depending upon how many children or the lack of children I have in my car, something like that. When's the last time you just got in your car and listened to the music that you wanted to and you were like, yes!
Yes.
Or actually just nothing at all. You're like, oh, silent,
quiet.
hip hop rap or nothing.
Nothing. I know, mine's Beyonce.
Yes.
Just throw a little Beyonce in there.
Mine's all probably way inappropriate. And it always blows my mind. I'm like, I listened to this in high school.
Oh my gosh. It's the worst when you listen to something that you listen to in high school with your kids.
Right?
You're
You're
like,
like, oh my gosh,
I didn't listen to that in high school. Nope.
Like, oh shoot, nope.
Just singing
This is a
every
bad
word.
song. Never listen to this, kids.
Something else that I think you kind of mentioned is accepting help from others. It's really hard for me to do that too because I feel like I'm failing as a mom if I reach out or if I just need a little bit of help sometimes. I just feel like it's so like a personal attack on me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that. And at this event that I went to, they talked about new moms and how when we have a baby and we have other kids and we're juggling, we try to do it all. And that you need to find a person that you can trust. And I thought of you because, like, I want to be that person. I want you to always know, like, I think that you're such a great mom, no matter what. Because I think that we do that to ourselves. Like, if I can't do all of this, then I shouldn't have had another kid. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm failing in all these places. Like, find someone that you know would never think that of you.
Yeah.
And reach out to them. If you need a nap, every new mom needs a nap.
Yes, like a lot of naps.
That doesn't mean that, yeah.
So many
It
naps.
doesn't mean that you aren't doing anything right or you're failing as a mom or that you're not this wonderful mother that you want to be. But you need someone that you can trust.
I can't remember where I heard it, but it also said something along those lines of like, maybe you're robbing somebody that chance that they needed to serve.
Yeah.
So I'll just think about it that way.
Yeah.
You guys can really
That's
serve
what I
me
told Carly. I
if-
was like, I really, really, really want a
Take a nap.
baby. Let me hold your baby all the time.
Done.
Yeah. So,
I like that though. But it is, why does it feel so foreign to reach out and just be like, can you just help me? I just need to go take a nap, run to TJ Maxx by myself or whatever. Like, why is that so hard sometimes just to...
It's so psychological. It is a
Yeah.
dig on our self-worth, but it doesn't need to be.
because
Yeah.
it's really not.
It's not.
One of the ladies there talked about how she did research on, like back in the day when people lived in like a tribe, the saying, it takes a village is
Yeah.
literally because moms would get together and they would all raise the babies together.
Yeah.
So the babies got attention from all of these moms because every mom would come and love the kids and hold the kids. And then it would give the mom that just had the baby a break for a minute.
See, maybe Sister Wives isn't like the worst
I know, right?
thing. If I could have a wife to do the dishes and the laundry, then I got the rest, you know?
And so studies showed that these children thrived because they were getting constant love, and the mother thrived because they were getting a break.
Yeah.
And then
Like they were being loved in different ways.
right.
Yeah.
And so then things switched, and it was like kids need to be on a schedule, and they need to be on this and this and this, and
We need to do it all by ourselves.
Yeah, and we need to put our kids down more. And then they started to see that didn't exactly work either, that it was great to hold your child more. And then we got back to the same place that we started out, where a child needs to be held and nurtured, but we don't have a village. Right. We don't have this community of women.
Well, and it's almost like we're taught that it's better, you're stronger, you know, if you don't ask for help.
Yeah.
But it's totally false.
Yeah.
It's false. Like, you need help.
Yeah.
When I was
You're
first
human.
going through my divorce, I was really worried because I knew that immediately I was going to have to share my child more. And it was so hard for me because it felt like when I didn't have Cooper, it was like this weird switch. Like, I remember just like sitting around and being like, I go from full mom to no mom. And this is even hard to admit right now, but I think that it has taken a village to raise Cooper because he has 2 sets of grandparents on his dad's side. Then I have my set of grandparents, and then Jackson's parents. So literally, like at family events, Cooper has like 25 grandparents. But I think that has made him a really well-rounded kid. And I love that so many role models have been in his life, and that we all have common ground for him, which is love.
Right.
And I think that through like going through my divorce and living with you guys and like living by you guys, and it has helped him and I've kind of got to experience that tribe feeling. And I'm like, I think that's why and I know he has his flaws. Maybe I'm obviously seeing it through rose-colored glasses, but I think he's a very well-balanced child. And I think that has a great part to do with so many people helping.
Right.
I'm like, maybe, not that I want to get a divorce, but maybe like if we had that mentality more of like sharing our kids and like, I love watching your kids and I love watching your kids. And I think that's why we are blessed to be such a close family, because kids get that, you know, that balance of this is how Carly and Jackson do it and this is how Kayli and Casey do it. And because they love and
just the
respect us.
Abundance of love. They know that they can come to you guys. They know that we can come to you.
Yeah.
And it's
I agree with the tribe thing.
It did make me feel guilty because when I had my kids, I wanted to do it all on my own. I never wanted to ask for help. And like you said, that does rob people of like having that experience or that time. Like, I feel like I have really robbed my kids of that because I'm like, no, I'll do it. I'll take care of my
Have
kid.
not.
I will do it all. But so, yeah. Also, one last thing I wanted to mention was to make sure that you reach out to your spouse. I am terrible at this. Communication is kind of a struggle that Casey and I have. Like I'll admit
every
that.
marriage
Yeah,
has.
right? We're working on it always. But I've always felt like he's seen me as like strong. Like he's always been like, you can do that. And so for me to admit to him this weakness that I have on this role that I take so seriously and it's so important to me is really, really hard. But I feel like lately I've just been like, this is hard. I feel lonely. I don't feel like me. I just need help. He has like stepped up 100%. He had no idea. We can't just assume that our spouses know exactly what we're feeling all the time. So I think even though it's really hard, he didn't see that as a weakness at all. He just thought like, oh shoot, let me help you. So that's one last thing that I wanted to end on, is just make sure that you're communicating that. And I hope that this helped. If anyone is feeling lonely, just know that you are not alone in that. And reach out to someone and know that you are an amazing mom and that we all believe in you and we love you. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.